What's up everyone, welcome to today's video, welcome to the Video Game Fight School channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. As everybody here knows, the developers dropped a PC trailer and I thought we'd just extract the information from it, seeing that as I'm not necessarily into a lot of reactions in that sense. Now, this is very cool because for the longest time we were asking for PC requirements, and I think this PC trailer opens the door for that information to come, but that information is not yet officially out, so hopefully in the next few days you'll know if your PC is actually ready. I also have some information that was shared with me by one of our audience members on Twitter, and so we're going to go ahead and look at that as well as we go through a few things here. Now, the first thing that I saw when I actually checked out this review that caught my eye was as to how clean everything was. In fact, I actually yelled. Now, I'm not somebody that shows too much excitement, but I was excited at least to the point saying that we would have PC requirements because I've already pre-ordered this game and I would like to know how my machine will run, or at least other machines that are, out there, how they're going to run on a PC platform. So it was really interesting to get something along the lines, even though we already kind of got a hint that this was something that was going to be coming pretty soon. So let's go ahead and break down this trailer a little bit, because for some, you may be thinking that this is 100% gameplay, but the truth is it's actually a mix. There is some gameplay elements here, and there also is some elements of, say, gameplay cutscenes. So already this particular aspect of the game we know is gameplay because we saw this in the first 16 minutes of gameplay that was actually shown by IGN. So you already know that the quality that you're seeing here is more than likely going to be the quality that the game is going to be rendered in, depending on your machine, depending on the scaling and a whole bunch of other things. So you can actually be sure that you're going to get this level of quality. Now, in regard to frame and shots like this, I have to say that I don't know, but I'm leaning towards these being in-engine captures that are within the game. Now, if it is the game itself, then it will be definitely the most impressive thing that I've seen in a very long time in the way that they've been able to render this game. Now, keep in mind that I've also always praised the Gotham Knights world and the way that it's been built. I always talked about the textures. In fact, I think from one of my most viewed videos where I titled it Gotham Knights Needs a Lot of Work, I talked about how I thought that the best and most positive thing about the game so far was the open world, the textures, the reflections, and I specifically mentioned the reflections because when I saw them, I was like, man, if you scale these things up very well, it's going to look freaking good. And I think these textures and reflections and so on and so forth seem to be getting their own time of day. Another really impressive aspect too that I got to see here that I thought, man, it looks somewhat familiar, is this place where Robin is fighting with a bunch of Talons. Now, the textures and the rendering here are actually pretty solid, man. I mean, it's insane, the quality that you see here, but I don't really think that that's gameplay. This one here, I think is rendered in-engine, but again, I would like to be wrong in all of this, because if at any rate I am actually wrong, then it's a better situation more than anything else. That means the game runs at such a quality that you can see almost realistic style animations, and the rendering is actually that good in terms of its scaling. But I guess we're yet to find out. We'll see when the game comes out in that, in that time frame. But I really do like the fact that they showed all of this stuff, and then they talked about the 4K resolution as well. And here is the one that really caught my eye. On Twitter, I posted that this particular frame of Batgirl actually flying in this huge bat glider or bat wing or whatever it is from the Belfry into the city is actually a gameplay cutscene. Because remember, in the Nightwing Red Hood trailer, we saw Nightwing on this particular device when he was making his way into that Court of Owls mission. So for sure, this is a part of the gameplay sequence in terms of a transition anyways. And so that one, you can kind of be certain about that you're going to see this in the game. And this is where it really got me somewhat excited about the way they've been able to get this game rendered and scaled for the PC platform. And so other than this, I guess we get to see some other really cool stuff, but these are kind of like done in cutscene type, variances. If you look at the way this gameplay sequence is here, I can almost tell you that they're using a cinematic camera within Unreal Engine to pan across while this animation and this sequence is taking place. There's a bunch of fun stuff you can do in Unreal Engine with the cinematic. So yeah, this one is gameplay, but the way they're capturing it is a little different. I mean, obviously, because this game is a third-person game, your camera is supposed to be behind Nightwing over here. What's that camera doing up front here? Warner Brothers Montreal. I mean, I know y'all are rendering a really cool game, and I appreciate the effort, but let's just call this what it is. This is a gameplay footage or a gameplay sequence captured from a whole different angle using a high frame camera object that's in the engine, and it's actually pretty cool. I mean, I'm just calling it what it is, but I really appreciate the fact that they're using it to showcase their game in any, at any rate. Now, the reflections. To me, I think that these are very impressive. If you're building an open world and you're bringing that open world to PC and you're rendering the world in a way that is going to be immersive, very little details like these do come in handy for you, because that open world is a world that players are going to interact with over the course of many hours. Even if they interact over that, with that world for, say, a matter of about 40, 50, 60 hours, it really does provide a certain level of just the fact that that quality sits there and it doesn't really seem to make too much of a difference than, say, it wasn't there. So I'm happy that this is something that they're actually enhancing and showing off in their trailer, and I hope in the real game section that this actually becomes a thing. I don't know if many of you remember, Marvel Spider-Man had a huge reflection issue too that went down with it. So I guess maybe this might be one of those things where you just say this small detail might matter a lot. And then in regard to the Intel XCSS, AI enhanced upscaling, I haven't necessarily heard anything about this technology until just today. I'm in Team Red. All my computers and right now that I use are AMD powered computers, except for, what my kids use. They use a lot of Intel and then maybe, other stuff for laptops. That's what we use in those, areas. But because I do production, I kind of leaned towards some of the AMD stuff. Now, I guess this is an AI enhanced upscaling, something that's probably within, the same technology realm as maybe AMD smart something, the SAM, smart access memory, or something like that, that's supposed to help to maybe scale your games. But I don't think this game is going to have too much NVIDIA support. So these are some things that we have to pay very close attention to, because we also saw DLSS and now we're seeing these XCSS. So I'm thinking NVIDIA and Intel are probably going to get some of the best of this particular game, but we'll see how it all goes. Now, the really cool thing too is, if you look very closely, we are all over here talking about the PC thing, but the devs go ahead and just drop some kind of a huge bomb hint out of nowhere. First of all, they do a Black Canary. Now they do it with, I think it's Superboy or something like that. That's in a picture here with Robin. You know what? We're gonna pretend like we didn't see that for this video. We're gonna come back to that because this cannot be allowed to slide. Anyways, we go back to the resolution settings, the upscaling settings, and you see that, already there's a DLSS setting that requires NVIDIA RTX graphics cards, and also the, AI, scaling, which is probably going to be based on Intel CPUs. But I do see that, you have a lot of the different settings all over the place, ray tracing, motion blur, all that. But I don't think they go in as, strong as, say, maybe the Arkham games. But we're yet to see, because the scroll bar shows that you're basically just a few, aspects down the road. Another thing too is the frame limit. The max frame limit can go all the way up to 360 FPS. I don't know, man. Maybe this is just an arbitrary number. Maybe they're messing with me, but that is ridiculous with the resolution and the frame rate, caps. So would like to see what kinds of machines can render this game and play this game at 360 FPS. In fact, even 200 FPS, I'll be very impressed. But I think them just throwing these numbers down is them just pretty much flexing. That's what it is. They're just flexing and saying, yo, our game is sweet, pretty much. But again, when the game comes out, we'll have to see. But I think this is a flex. And then for me, one of the better things of all of this is the field of view settings. Seems like you're going to have a very sweet field of view overall for this game. And that is definitely something that I like in third-person games. FOV sliders are just so good. For some people, they do cause a little bit of, motion sickness in regard to how they're done. But I guess we'll see how these actually work in the game. And I'm happy that we have the option here to actually scale it however it is that we want. So by and large, I think this is a very good 1 minute and 20 seconds that was spent in this particular game, just to be able to show how much texture quality that you can actually go ahead and, apply. Especially this particular spot here with Red Hood standing on a rooftop. They are showing, basically 3 different texture settings that you can actually pick up in terms of quality anyways, or overall in the world. You see they go ahead from the first one. You see that there's, somewhat more, fog or more depth to Red Hood's outfit. And you see that it gets much more, I don't know how I'll put it, but the texture kind of like stands out even more in terms of his outfit, and even the world and the fog and the different elements start to come out even much more. Ladies and gentlemen, this is really indicative that this game's PC, port is going to be very, very impressive to look at. Now, stability, though, is a whole different conversation, because I know that there might be somebody who says, well, why don't we wait till we see it? I get it. What we're seeing is the game, but then we have to talk about the way that's going to play consistently, and then online play. What's that going to do? Is that going to drop a bunch of frames? So these are conversations that we probably need to have later on. But as it stands, I think the game has actually received a very good amount of optimization for the PC platform. Now, in regard to console, I've also seen some of the comments from the console, community talking about, they hope that the consoles can actually take advantage of some of the, technology that this game is bringing to PC. And that's a very good question. But one thing about games like these is, I think all of this was done almost 100% in-house. I don't think they ported this game using another studio like, say, the other games that Warner Brothers Games does. I could be wrong, though. But if they were able to do that, say another studio was able to go ahead and help them with all of this optimization for PC, then I think they probably would have spent time doing this on, say, the new generation of consoles. But again, I don't really know. So I guess as time is getting closer, we'll just have to wait to see what it is that they're trying to bring forward for the consoles, and how they're going to render 4K if it's available anyways, and the different scalings and the different FPS for the console systems. But by and large, this is what we have so far, and I'm really happy that they're able to drop this. Now, for a final aspect of this conversation, there are no official, PC requirements yet. And I think that's on purpose, or maybe they're just waiting to use it as another trailer or as another marketing means. But one of our, audience members here in this community found something from the Google search results. I think if you just search on the search engine, for some reason, it appears, even though they haven't made the page live, or even if the page isn't live yet, this was something that came up. So shout out to Kiera here in our audience here in the Gotham Knights community who found this, or Sierra, sorry, who found this. And so thank you so much for sharing this with me. So apparently minimum specs are looking like an i5 6600, 3.3 gigahertz, or if your CPU is able to clock this at this frequency and you're in this range, you're pretty good. This is very impressive, folks. An i5 6600 is an i5 from somewhere around 2015, 2016. I think I had one when I first made my first PC build. So that's actually, something that's around, a good amount of time. So anything newer than that, or even around that time frame, will be able to give you some, decent entry point into playing the game. Or you're using an AMD Ryzen 5 2600 and an NVIDIA GeForce 1050 Ti. Wow. A GeForce 1050 Ti is like a sleeping underdog in a sense. It's a GPU that was very affordable in the time that it was first released, and then for some reason people started buying a lot of it, and it started to change in price point. But it was supposed to be an entry-level GPU to allow for people to be able to get in on the NVIDIA aspect. I think it came in the 3 gig, and I don't know if it came in anything more than that VRAM quantity. So we'll get to see what that is. But if we're looking at 3 gigs of VRAM, and we're looking at these processors from back then I think this game must have really enjoyed a lot of optimization. But again, it doesn't really surprise me, because around that time, the game had already, been in development, or at least it was getting its conceptualization. And so a lot of the framework they were building the game on was, going to be supported by machines like that. The challenge, though, is how the PlayStation 4, the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One have always been weak anyway, so it's just what it is. These chips, even though they're old, they've always been way better than those machines. So I guess we're going to see how all this basically is fleshed out, and I'm really looking forward to a lot more details about this. But I'll go ahead and end the video here. So thanks so much for watching it, and I appreciate you guys' time and audience. Thanks for all of your support, and hopefully we'll talk pretty soon. Peace out.